Welcome to the Paul Adefarasin podcast, our interactive 15-minute review of this week's message. We revisit the word, surface the big ideas, and give you space to reflect, pray, and act. If you'd like the full message, though, you can watch it on YouTube or listen on Spotify after this episode. My name is Paul Adefarasin.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into some really fascinating source material. It's a sermon transcript, actually, called Imago Dei, Living in Your True Identity as the Image of God.
Sounds profound already.
It is. And our mission here is basically to pull out the core ideas from this text. And the hook, it grabs you right away. The source essentially claims that you are God's highest value asset, period.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, not just, part of creation, but the masterpiece. God's embodiment on earth is how it's framed.
And that term, Imago Dei, image of God, the source, is really specific about that, isn't it?
It is. How does it define it?
Well, it's not just some theological term sitting on a shelf. It's described as animated, living, breathing, an exact representation of the Creator's nature.
An exact representation.
Exactly. And possessing apparently profound power and influence already. But here's the catch. It's all just waiting for your recognition, like a switch that needs flipping.
That's a key point, that difference between having the identity and actually recognizing it. So let's dig into that first section, this idea of value and authority. The text uses that coin analogy, right?
It does, yeah, the whole give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar thing.
Right, because his image is on the coin. That's what gives it value in his kingdom.
Exactly. The image dictates ownership and value, but then the sermon flips it, doesn't it? It asks, well, whose image, whose superscription is on you?
God's.
God's. So therefore, you are what belongs to God. You're his currency, his asset.
And carrying that image means carrying what? Authority? Jurisdiction?
That's the implication,
Yeah.
Yes. The believer is vested with the wherewithal, as the text puts it. You're equipped with the resources, the authority needed to carry out God's will in the world.
So it's not passive, it's an operational thing.
Very much so. It's like having diplomatic immunity or credentials because you represent the sovereign.
Okay. And the source connects this back to Christ, doesn't it, as the sort of original model?
Yeah, Christ is presented as the prototype. It points to Colossians 1:15, the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. He's the original template, the perfect pattern of this Imago Dei.
So if Christ is the perfect prototype, does the source suggest we're already there, or is it something we're striving for, that exact likeness from Genesis?
That's a great question. It seems to hold both ideas together. Like the potential, the core identity is fully there in your spirit. You are the image.
Okay.
But achieving that likeness, that full manifestation in your soul and body, that's the process. And the key to starting that process, according to the sermon, is a fundamental mental shift.
A mental shift, changing how you see yourself.
Precisely. You have to perceive yourself through the lens of this Imago Dei identity first, before anything else happens.
And if you make that shift, what does the text say happens then?
Well, that's where it gets quite dramatic. It says confidence is born from that recognition, and then creation itself starts to respond differently to you. It literally says opportunities beckoned, world systems align. The idea is that recognizing who you are changes your sort of spiritual frequency, and things designed to support your purpose start lining up.
Wow. Okay. So recognizing your identity actually impacts the world around you.
That's the claim. It's a powerful one.
Now, this next part, this was really unexpected for me in the source material. It pivots to something called the theology of strategic divine amnesia.
Right. God choosing to forget things. It's a fascinating concept.
Tell us about that. Why would God choose to forget?
Well, the source argues God practices this sovereign amnesia for a very specific reason. And get this, it's primarily for his own sake, not just for ours.
Wait, hang on. For his own sake, how does that work?
Because, according to this teaching, our past sins and failures actually act as a kind of structural block to God fulfilling his own purposes through us now.
So our past limits God's future actions.
In a way, yes. If God remained constantly focused on or constrained by our history of transgressions, it would hinder his ability to freely operate and implement his plans through us moving forward. So, he strategically deletes the record, wipes the slate clean for his own operational freedom.
Okay, that's a different angle on forgiveness. Does it give scriptural backing for this?
It does. It cites Isaiah 43:25. I, even I, am he who blots out your transgressions for my own sake, and I will not remember your sins.
For my own sake. There it is.
And also Hebrews 10:7 their sins and their lawless deeds I will remember no more. The takeaway presented is pretty blunt. Your past is structurally irrelevant to God's future plans with you. He's chosen to make it so.
Total erasure. But if God erases it for his sake, what about us? We often still remember, we still feel the guilt or the consequences.
Exactly. And that's where the sermon brings in the concept of mercy. Mercy isn't just passive pardon here. No, it's described as an active agent, something that runs out from the mercy seat, that place of divine transaction to intercept judgment. Yeah. Mercy stands between you and the consequences you logically deserve based on your actions. It actively blocks that cause and effect process, allowing God's amnesia to, well, stick.
So mercy enables the forgetting, in a sense.
That seems to be the mechanism presented. It creates the space for the past to be truly past in the divine economy.
All right, so God practices strategic forgetting. That leads logically to, what about us? What's our role regarding memory, according to this source? Well, it hits pretty hard on this. It suggests that a lot of what it calls dysfunctional worship actually stems from a memory problem.
A memory problem,
Yep.
like forgetting God.
Forgetting his goodness, specifically. It uses the example of the 10 lepers. Remember, Jesus heals 10, but only one comes back to say thank you.
Ah, right. The other 9 just went on with their lives.
Exactly. They forgot the misery of leprosy almost immediately once the healing came. They had a memory failure regarding gratitude and what God had done.
So bad memory leads to bad worship, essentially.
That's the idea. And to fix it, the source lays out a two-part discipline, pulling from Philippians 3. It seems we need to mimic God's approach.
Mimic God's memory strategy. How?
Okay, first part. We need our own strategic selective amnesia. The text points to forgetting those things which are behind.
Forgetting our past, sins, failures.
Yes, but it's presented as an active choice, not just passively moving on, but deciding that past failures, maybe even past successes that make you complacent, are actually hindering your future. So you consciously choose to, well, sideline those memories, make them non-operational.
Okay, actively forgetting the past. What's the second part?
The second part is the flip side. Strategic recall, reaching forward, as Philippians puts it. And this is where the sermon highlights how God's remembering is always tied to action, to a move.
God's memory triggers action.
Yeah.
Yes, it's kinetic. His recall makes something happen on earth. The source uses 2 really potent examples.
Okay, like what?
First, Noah. Genesis 8:1 says God remembered Noah, and what happened immediately after?
The floodwaters started to recede. He sent a wind.
Exactly. God remembered, and consequently, a wind passed over the earth. His act of recall directly resulted in a physical global change. The memory triggered the intervention needed.
Wow. Okay, remembering Noah changed the weather. What's the other example?
Rachel.
Yeah.
Genesis 30:22 says God remembered Rachel. She was barren, unable to conceive.
Right.
And after God remembered her, she conceived and gave birth to Joseph, something she couldn't do on her own.
So God's remembering enabled her potential.
Precisely. And the sermon uses this as a metaphor. When God remembers you in an area where you feel stuck or barren, maybe in business, creativity, whatever, his remembering helps you not miscarry the possibility. It brings to fruition the potential you couldn't manifest alone.
That really connects the dots between identity, memory, and, tangible results.
Yeah.
So if we embrace this Imago Dei identity, practice this memory discipline, what's the end game? What's the big picture goal the sermon points to?
Manifestation. Plain and simple. It leans heavily on Romans 8:19. The earnest expectation of all creation is waiting eagerly for the manifestation of the sons of God, us, the Imago Dei carriers.
So creation itself is waiting for us to step up and be who we're supposed to be.
That's exactly the argument. The entire world system is somehow incomplete or out of sync until the image bearers start fully expressing their true identity and authority.
And this isn't just an individual thing, right?
No, the source talks about a huge shift here. It's moving from Christ being the singular agency of God's authority on earth
The one prototype.
to a plural agency of billions of people. The full expression of God's intent requires this collective awakening and operation in the Imago Dei.
Billions of people operating with this understanding. That's a massive vision. What's the mechanism for actually doing that? The sermon mentions the keys of the kingdom, but with a twist.
Yes, a crucial twist. The common understanding is often, we bind something on earth and then it gets bound in heaven, we initiate. But this source flips that. It says the keys give you access to the windows and doors of heaven first. You look into heaven to see what's happening there.
Okay, why is that reversal so important? What difference does it make if you access heaven first versus binding on earth first?
It changes everything about how you operate. If you start by binding on earth, you're essentially reacting to earthly problems, trying to manage circumstances, wrestling with limitations.
Standard problem solving almost.
Kind of, but if you have the keys to access heaven first, you're accessing the divine blueprint. The source says the principle is about seeing what is already bound or loosed in heaven, the spiritual realities, the blessings, the wealth, the genius ideas, the solutions.
So you see it there first.
You see it there first, and then you translate that heavenly reality to earth. You act based on the blueprint you've seen. You start calling those things which are not as though they are because you've already seen them be in the heavenly realm.
So it shifts from managing earthly problems to manifesting heavenly solutions.
It's exactly. From circumstance management to blueprint manifestation.
Yeah.
That's the power of using the keys correctly, according to this teaching.
Yeah. Okay, this has been quite a journey through the source. We started with this powerful idea. You are God's masterpiece, his living image carrying his authority. Imago Dei.
Right. The foundation.
Then we hit that fascinating concept of divine amnesia. God choosing to forget your past strategically for his own sake, enabled by mercy.
And the flip side, our need for strategic recall. Forgetting what holds us back. Actively remembering God's goodness and his actions, like with Noah and Rachel, which always leads to a move. Remembering triggers action.
Which all culminates in this idea of manifestation, the world waiting for the Imago Dei to be revealed, and using the keys of the kingdom not to react to earth, but to access heaven's blueprint first.
So, bringing it all together. What's a final thought for you, the listener, to take away from this? Consider this, based directly on the sermon's implications.
Yeah.
It suggests that when you pray, it's your consciousness, your awareness that travels to heaven, accessing those divine realities. So if you truly believe you possess, right now, all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Christ Jesus, then what specific wealth, what breakthrough, what solution, what piece of ingenuity are you perhaps failing to bring down to manifest in your physical life simply because you haven't fully accessed the memory of your true divine identity as the Imago Dei? What blueprint are you leaving untapped in heaven?
That's a powerful question to sit with. Access the blueprint, manifest the image. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Go put this knowledge to use.
Thank you for listening. To go deeper, watch the full message on YouTube or listen to the full-length sermon on Spotify. Follow the podcast, and please share it with someone who needs it and leave your response in the Q&A. Kindly keep your heart on fire, your eyes on Jesus, knowing you are the exception. Grace and peace. We love you deeply.